Welcome to Recross the Paths, where we celebrate the Cube community one conversation at a time. My name is Cade, and today I am here with Nate. Thank you so much for being here.
Of course, I'm excited to be here, Cade.
It's always a treat to get to talk Cube, looking a little bit at some nostalgic projects, so some fun things to look back on and look forward to.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, as I started this kind of nostalgia journey, I was getting a little burnt out on Cube and Magic in general, so it is very exciting to kind of find something from the past and bring that to the future.
This is kind of like rekindling an enjoyment for the game, I guess.
Absolutely, yeah. I would say 2023 and 2024 were really big years for my play group in terms of cubing, and then 2025 we kind of petered out there. I don't think I played a single game of Magic in 2025 until the last month or so of the year, and then putting this list together and getting other people excited about it got me excited as well, and now we're back in 2026.
Hey, there you go. So starting the year off strong, it sounds like.
Yeah, absolutely. Went from absolutely no Magic at all to I think we've drafted this new list of mine 7 times already this year.
Yes, that's so good. Let that be a lesson to you. You're never out of the game. You can always jump back in.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's that meme of the guy digging for the diamonds and then he quits just before he gets there. Sometimes you just got to keep going.
Except the diamonds is like a Homelands expansion symbol here.
Yeah. It is looking at Young Wolf and saying, you know what? Let's play this card in 2026.
Oh, yeah. Young Wolf, a classic. I feel like I could probably just can that response and say it to basically every card we're going to talk about in this conversation.
Yeah, real.
But yeah, Young Wolf has this certain je ne sais quoi about it, where it's like everybody sees it and is like, oh yeah, this is a card I want to play. I don't know anybody who doesn't want to play Young Wolf.
Yeah, very true. Or I feel like the people who see Young Wolf and kind of underestimate it then start getting beat up by a Young Wolf and they're like, oh wait, I can't kill this thing.
Yeah, this is a mistake you only make one time.
Absolutely, yeah.
I suppose I ought to ask here on the front end of the conversation, based on your internet handle, how do you feel about frogs?
Oh, I absolutely adore frogs. For any other old heads of the game, you might look back and see like the beasts that then got turned into frogs later.
Right.
And when I was a young child, I remember looking at that and I was like, I can see it. I can see that these are frogs. And honestly, kind of jump-started my love of frogs was seeing these weird, mutated, monstrous ones from the early parts of the game.
So you're not like, give me the cute, cuddly, slimy frogs. You're like, give me the ones that would give you nightmares or eat a person whole.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Not nostalgic related, but the Gitrog monster, that's like my kind of frog. I want one that looks like, oh wow, I don't want to touch this thing.
My recollection on that was that the Gitrog monster art was part of the world building spread as they were building Innistrad, or the Return to Innistrad. And everybody just fell in love with that art so much that they determined to make it a legendary creature.
That's awesome. That's the kind of design I like to hear.
So, Nate, as we jump in here, as we're thinking about nostalgia and your project that we're going to talk about here, why Cube? What led you to that as a way to engage with the game?
When I think back to my early parts of Magic, I had a really hard time getting into some of the more competitive scenes at first. And when you think back to 2013, 2014 Magic, when I first started playing, Standard and Modern were some of the biggest things you could be doing, and people really aspired to go to the Pro Tour. Yeah. And at the time, I was a teenager who didn't have money to shell out for those kind of decks. I would borrow stuff from people at the LGS, but I wanted something that was really mine, that I could own fully. I wasn't, picking up pieces from different people and kind of carrying that around for me. And after searching up the internet, I found this exciting Cube format where even back then, a decade plus ago, people were saying, you don't have to build a vintage cube. You can put together a box of random commons you have. And that really drew me in as kind of an accessible way to get into Magic, as funny as that sounds with it being 360 cards.
No, that's great. Well, it's probably cheaper to get those 360 cards than to put together like Jund.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, that's so cool. So then Cube was part of the, what do I do in the game if I'm not going to be, grinding tournaments?
Yeah, and I feel like it also gave me creative expression. because you bring up Jund, and I remember that being kind of what I aspired to if I was going to own a modern deck or something like that. But that was something that someone else had built and already kind of not necessarily solved, but found a mostly correct list to do at the time. And I like that with Cube. I could look at a card like Blizzard Spectre, a weird 4-mana 2/3, and I could make that work.
Oh, I love Blizzard Spectre. Cold Snap.
Yeah, absolutely.
So did you start building cubes right away, or was it like you just kind of were aware of it and developed it over time?
I became aware of it pretty quickly, but it did take me some time to get everything together. At the time I was building my Magic collection off of the $20 I would get every week for mowing lawns or raking leaves, whatever else I was doing while I could in high school. So yeah, it took me quite a bit of time to get to, but it was always in the back of my mind, even as we're playing like F&M standard decks. I was always like, this could go into my cube I might own one day as I'm building this box of cards for it.
I love the hypothetical cube that may happen. The cube we're going to talk about today is the Glory Tag Tournament, but that wasn't your first project, right?
No, my first one from recent years was Glory Days, which is a pretty basic legacy cube, I would say. It started around 2020 when I would get bored during COVID lockdown, and me and my friends wanted to find some sort of way over the internet to play new cards, but also play like the old classics like Snapcaster Mage, Liliana the Veil. So that was my original list, was Glory Days.
And then that brings us into, I imagine you're coming out of the pandemic season, this newer project, which evokes by the title, the Glory Days. Would you give us an overview here then for the Glory Tag Tournament XIV?
Yeah, so Glory Tag Tournament XIV is my nostalgia cube that the original intention of it was to riff off of Glory Days. I wanted it to be very similar, so I'm trying to build, this nostalgia cube off of my current sensibilities. So I wanted to have similar gameplay. I wanted to have low curves. I wanted to have impactful enter the battlefield abilities, trying to stay away from some of the mopier things of the past. So yeah, that's kind of how I branched it off, was looking at like if I just took cards from before the release of M15 and built a cube now, how would that look? And I do also want to add in with the name, that comes from, if you've ever played Japanese RPG, they tend to have some Roman numerals in them, like we've seen with Final Fantasy New Universes Beyond set.
Yes, Dragon Quest, Dragon Warrior, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's kind of where the XIV is coming from. I know it's 14, but me and my group just got to saying XIV instead, so that's where we are.
Well, it's very cromulent to say like the GTT XIV. Everything goes together.
Oh yeah, the acronym is also very nice. And I also found like thinking to other JRPGs, when they start releasing new titles, they often branch off of their own name like that, like Glory Days to Glory Tag Tournament. I think of like, there's a game called Blaze Blue, and they branched off of that and made Blaze Blue Cross Tag Battle. So that's kind of where my name was coming from with that. I had a lot of fun making that name.
That's really good. And it's really evocative, right? This tells me something about what you're aiming for already.
Absolutely, yeah.
So something you said there that I think is worth latching onto at the front, you're not really aiming for a low-powered nostalgia experience. I know sometimes there's a filter that we put on, like, I want certain cards to be good, so we put a cap on what's strong. But you're aiming for something a little more high-octane.
Yeah, I would say I'm trying to aim for, I have old Pro Tour competitors that play in my local group. And there's just something about being able to cast. I'll bring up Snapcaster a lot in this recording.
It's a great card to bring up.
Yeah, Snapcaster Mage into a counterspell, a clean 4 mana that you can do and have that be impactful is something that myself and my group have a lot of fun with. We aren't necessarily aiming for the most high power. We're not running, actual power in this cube. We're staying away from turn 3 combos and Armageddon type effects, but we want to feel like the cards have enough power that your decisions really matter and you're not just jamming 4 mana 3/3s into one another.
Yeah. So Nate, what sensibilities do you think that you carry now into this project that you maybe were still cultivating earlier on?
I think the big one being stats and how stats really matter. We have seen this recently pop up. For example, on Lucky Paper Radio, they just brought up an article about this. And I find that a lot. Like looking at cards and being able to say, okay, people thought this was good back in the day, but if we can look at that through our lens now, we might say, yeah, I'm not going to run that. Even if it's an option, I can sub in other cards that just have better rates. And that's the biggest one I think has come up.
That gets kind of tricky, especially, well, I say especially as they keep printing new cards, but that's not something you encounter with a project like this.
Yeah, setting the bar at nothing from M15 or further. We're looking at everything printed before M15. It was pretty arbitrary to start. It was just kind of something I was like, maybe this would be a good block to set to prevent me from getting distracted by those newer things, because it can be a slippery slope. I think that actually applies here for once, where I thought about, maybe I should add in Tasker, but then once I add in Tasker, what's stopping me from adding in, I don't know, further cards like Collected Company and such?
Yeah. Was 2015 potentially related to the frame change at that point? Was that an easier cutoff?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. When I started playing the game, that just wasn't a thing, and I remember them debuting the new frame, and I was kind of sour about it. I really like that the older cards have the color of their border going all the way around. Yes. I don't know what it is, but it just gives me a better feeling than it feels like they cut off a bit of the card for me.
It's funny, it's almost that same sensibility of when they went from the 1997 frame to the modern frame. It was the same sort of thing. It's like, well, now I have less frame. And, each change has been fewer and fewer millimeters of card frame.
Yeah, that's so funny. I've not thought about that one with the 97 frame, but now that I think about it, yeah, it is like that.
So what makes this project unique for you in the realm of nostalgia projects? Because I know there are many, many kinds.
Yeah, I think for me specifically, when I look at other people's nostalgia projects, I am very locked in on that visual of the border. If I don't have the correct printing of a card, it's probably not going to be in the cube for a little while until I can get my hands on it. There are 2 exceptions to this right now. Gifts Ungiven, I don't have the correct printing for that. But otherwise, I have been very quick to cut a card because I just can't find the, M14 printing as opposed to the Commander printing from recent years.
Is that something like you put out a call to the group of like, hey, somebody help me out with the proper Gifts Ungiven?
Yeah, I have been known to ping some discords with that. I think every LGS within a 50-mile radius knows me because I come in and say, no, I really need to get the Kamigawa printing. I will not accept anything else. And luckily, with the power of the internet now, I also sometimes will complain in random discords where I don't personally know people, or I'll complain in my blog posts on Cube Cobra, and that has sourced me at least 2 cards so far.
To borrow from a friend of mine, closed mouths don't get fed.
Yep, true.
So, well, let's camp here for just a second. Talk about aesthetics and its role in a project like this, because certainly you could put this all together just by spreadsheet, but why is that important to have all that in those editions for you?
Firstly, it gives me a sense of when I open up a pack, this could have been a pack that 13 or 14-year-old Nate could have opened up and looked through if he was playing, the first time he ever got to draft a cube. So it's a little more immersive, even though I'm not trying to fully emulate that experience. It kind of ties it in a little bit more for me personally. And then for other people as well, I've gotten feedback of the same thing. They feel like, wow, this is really a nostalgia cube. I'm not forgetting what I'm drafting here. Like, the themes are very prominent. And for people who may not have been around during that time, it's very novel. It's something unique that I think is becoming increasingly rare these days, where you can look at a stack of, 10 cards, let alone 450, and not see any of those rare silver stamps. So that can do a lot. That can pull people in to want to try the cube for the first time. And it definitely, when I'm trying to tell them, like, it's been referred to as like a boomer cube, which I don't think it's quite that old, but you get those vibes.
Do you seek out the original prints explicitly, or is it just like something within your time frame?
I'm not too picky about the original prints. I especially have a proclivity for F&M promos, so there are quite a lot where I could get like the oldest border for them. It's not like restrictive, but I will go towards more the F&M promo or the GP promo. I think those, especially for the older ones, are, again, things that people might not get to play with much these days.
Well, I know it's a little bit bandwagony for me to say at this point, but it truly is one of the greatest eras of promos. Something about the huge logos emblazoned in the foil box is just delightful.
Yeah, and I've actually been looking at some of the more obscure ones recently that even when I played during that time, I didn't know existed. Like, there's promos that just say www.magicthegathering.com at the bottom. And yes. I think those are a lot of fun.
Is it Core Skyfisher, I think, is one of them. Oh, it's a black card that I'm forgetting. But yeah, it's really amazing.
Yeah, Core Skyfisher is the one I'm trying to locate right now. And the other one you might be thinking of is Bloodthrone Vampire.
Yes, that's the one. I'd be shocked if we got a URL on a Magic card at this point.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it seems very unlikely. And so being able to show that to people and even just talk about, like, look at this that happened back in the day, and people who are younger, like, I can't even believe that. Like, that's so odd. That's so out there. It's so fun. It's fun to get to tell those stories. And this is also, like, random aside. I hate ordering cards from online vendors, so I really try and get them from people or in person.
Well, I think that could be a big part of it too, right? You talk about the story and the experience. Like, that's so much of it is like, hey, I got this from this person, or I remember trading for this, or finding it in a binder is so much more compelling than I clicked on the button online and put it in my cart.
Right. This was part of one of my 50 packages from TCG Player, and it showed up at my door.
Do you have an early date cutoff? Like, I know you said 2015 is the top end. Do you have anything on the bottom end?
No, I haven't said anything like that. I haven't found anything from, the oldest times of Magic that I'm really put off from with curating this vibe. I think it kind of helps too when, if you were a player from that era starting out, you were pretty used to picking up a bulk bin and it'd have a bunch of stuff from Innistrad and Alara and Return to Ravnica, but then you'd randomly find a Homerid in there and you'd be like, oh, interesting. This is my segue into the rest of Magic's history.
Well, and I guess also you suggested that you were building into this over your time playing, right? So like if you didn't start at the very beginning, the things you played with most would fit into this zone.
True, yeah.
So how does this is so fun to say. How does the Glory Tag Tournament XIV differ from the original Glory days? Like what things you're doing to set it apart?
The biggest thing is the curves go a little bit bigger. That's just mostly based off of the fact that you kind of have to around this time. You can't build a full cube of things that cost 4 or less because there's just not enough good stuff in that range. So in Glory days, I'd be much more reluctant to put in a 6 or a 7 drop that you're not trying to cheat into play somehow. Whereas in Glory Tag Tournament, we've been finding slamming your 6 drops on turn 6 is one of the best things you can be doing.
Yeah, it's so telling to see some of your cards tagged on the watch list are like Stormbreath Dragon level threats, where it's like, we're just going to ask the question and see what happens.
Yeah, exactly. You look at a Legacy Cube nowadays and it's like 5-mana dragon. You might not even live that long to cast it. And
right.
Now last week I had players complaining that Stormbreath Dragon is just too good. The threat of activating its monstrous is too much. And yeah, it's very, very funny to see when you look at it through our lens of today.
Oh man, sign me up. So some of the things you have tagged in the Glory days, like you have a couple that are marked as uncuttables. Is that a premise that's just based in that cube?
Yes, I would say so. Especially, I did not bring those along when building this cube because, as we find, all things are ephemeral, and even marking something as uncuttable does not save it from the sands of time. Huntmaster of the Fells was one of my original uncuttables in Glory days. And it strung along for a really long time, and then now that I had another place to play it in Glory Tag Tournament, it found itself getting cut. So,
oh, no.
I'm a little reluctant to ever go back to those kind of things. Mostly now, I think uncuttable tags for my other cube are things like gifts for my wife, things people have donated from my local play group, things that match the power level a little better, and I'm not just trying to keep for keepsakes.
That's fair. So then this one's not set on that same kind of framework of these are the pegs to hold on to things.
Right, yeah. And I would say even more so than my Legacy Cube in Glory Tag Tournament, I am pretty ruthless about cutting things, especially with, looking at older cards and how things have changed. It can be pretty easy to lose track of, oh yeah, back in this era, this card really was a problem. So I try not to get too attached so I can keep gameplay fun and not get too worried about, what my quote-unquote pillars of a cube are.
Yeah, how do you go about making changes in a kind of a closed card pool?
Yeah, I would say the big thing is once we get tired of a card in the queue, we let it go. We say, is there anything else we want to try? Maybe in this color, maybe not. If it's not important to keep that balance at the moment, we just try something else. And I would say also, I'm pretty open to experimenting with kind of packages that we put in the cube. For example, blue in Glory Tag Tournament started off as your classic, I'm going to cast counter spells and flash creatures and I'm never going to tap out. And we found this is fun for like a few drafts, but once people know it's there and we see it every time, maybe we cut back a little bit on that and let's cut these 5 control cards and add in these 5, blue mid-range cards that'll play towards devotion or ninjas or something like that. And so I think Magic is just such a deep game, even when you cut yourself off. Oh, I'm trying to think of what the number of years would be, like 21 years into the game. There's still so much that I find it pretty easy to cut like 10 cards at a time and add 10 new cards.
Yeah, and like you said, kind of doing them in packages too, where it's not just like, all right, I'm done with this one card, but that the environment around it changes a little bit. And that can add that freshness too.
Yeah, and I think even on top of rate, I brought that up earlier of how rate is really important in this cube. Another thing that can compensate for rate is synergies. So making sure that, if I'm making big swaths and I'm putting in a card, for example, one card that has lasted since I started building this cube is Arrogant Worm. And
yeah.
There's just always going to be something that wants to discard or a loot effect or something like that where Arrogant Worm as a 5-mana 4/4 is not good, but once you cut it down to 3, now we're cooking.
Oh yeah. One of my very favorites. It's very hard for me to pass an Arrogant Worm.
I saw that you did a test draft of it, and I was like, yeah, you get an Arrogant Worm in there.
You have to show me an opportunity for green discard, and I'm pretty happy about that. So you mentioned maybe like the fear of stagnation, perhaps, but what sorts of things would inspire you to make changes along the way?
I found that the biggest inspiration for change is when people start playing the cube and it immediately brings up a story or a memory for them of a card they used to play around this time or a card they've seen that they've never been able to play because it's older and wanting to try it out. Or they bring it to me and they say, hey, do you think this can hang in the cube? And when people get excited like that about, one, my cubes, but also being engaged in the community of our cubes, I'm all for trying to find a way to jam it in there.
Yeah. I mean, like, how do you say no when somebody is that stoked about it?
Absolutely, yeah. I've especially found, we have some current high schoolers in our group, and whenever they tell me like, oh, I was doing some Scryfall searching and I found this card that I wasn't thinking about for the cube, but I think it'd work well here. I'm like, yeah, let's go. Let's put that in there. You're looking towards the past. Let's see if we can get you being nostalgic for a time you never lived through.
That's so good. Well, and like you said, just drawing people into that experience because now they're part of the cube. They're going to be inclined to draft it again. And then, you're going to be part of their story too. Like you're going to be engaged in the things they're part of.
Yeah, I think the dream for me would be if someone else ever talked about a card in this cube because they had found it from this cube or something like that. Someone that might have seen Basking Root Wall and never really got how good it was until they got to cast it here.
That's another one. You learned that one once. That's a pretty sweet card.
Yeah.
Thinking of memory, how interesting that is that we remember cards like how they existed at the time. And they don't stay there. You said something earlier really thoughtfully about how the sands of time, keep flowing past.
Yeah, that's true. I'm trying to think of like specific cards with that too, like Briarhorn.
Sure.
Excess is kind of the opposite. That's like one that you don't think of as very powerful in my memory, but then now that I play it, it's like using what I know now about the game and timing and being able to use combat tricks and when my opponent might not expect them. That one's like leveled that one up.
It's so funny. Yeah, Brighthorn, not one that people think about the same way, but one that comes to mind for me when I look through this project. I know we've centered a lot in green in this conversation, but
True.
but like a Wolfie or Silverheart, kind of your soul bond monster at the top end. Like, and I'm sure it's powerful and it had its moments, but like nowadays, there are answers for that.
That's true. Yeah, especially thinking about something like Regenerate, where you look at that as a new player or in certain, eras of standard, and it's like, well, the best removal spells can't answer that. But then when we look at Cube, it's like, well, I played Wolfie or Silverheart, and then I played against the white deck, and they had Oust and Path to Exile,
Right.
and access to way more things that could just deal with it, and I held up 2 mana for no reason.
Right, yeah. Yeah, the number of things that say can't be regenerated is kind of amazing. But yeah, having clean answers to things that didn't exist in that format. Do you think there's ever a place where the Glory Tag Tournament would be complete, or do you think it's a project that will always be in flux for you? In a positive flux, I should say.
I think it will probably always be in a flux. I can't even get this thing down to a 360. It sits at 450, and it's because I just have so many cards, or I'll think about something that I've never thought of before, even though I've been working on this for over a year now. And I just can't see myself ever looking at the list and not thinking that something could be trimmed, or something could have more support, or something might just be a really cool thing to open. I had Cruel Ultimatum. I had that in the cube for a really long time, and that was like such a big dream for people. And then eventually we were like, the novelty's worn off. We can take this out of the cube now. But that's another one someone's going to ask, where's Cruel Ultimatum in my nostalgia cube about, this Alara to Return to Ravnica era. And I'm probably going to put it back in someday.
You had kind of a rotation over the years.
Yeah, absolutely.
Imagine with no fetch lands, Cruel Ultimatum gets a little tougher. Like, no way to guarantee that mana.
Yeah, we tried to compensate for that with the filter lands from Eventide in that set. And then someone played an island into the black-white filter land, and they were like, this doesn't do what I want it to do.
Are there cards or effects that you would like to add to this project but that just don't fit your restrictions?
I brought up Tassiger earlier. The delve threats, the threats that, cost cheaper because you've done other things that you're already going to do in the game of Magic. I really, really miss those. We have the Black Flying one. Tombstalker. We got that one in there, and I'm not always the happiest with that. I guess for this time period and this cutoff point, you should be pretty happy about a 2-mana 5/5 flyer.
that sounds pretty good for 2015. 2014.
Yeah. And it's kind of problematic because then, looking to future sets and just knowing that those other things exist. I really wish we could have Gurmag Angler, but
yes.
I don't want to step into that, and because then it just opens the floodgates for every other thing I could add in there to kind of shore things up.
Hooting Mandrills will miss you.
Oh, Arrogant Worm definitely misses Hooting Mandrills.
Oh, man. Now you got a stew going. Well, I guess using Arrogant Worm as our pivot to that, do you aim for specific archetypes or decks in this cube for people to draft?
My initial response wants to be no, but then I feel like I'm being a little disingenuous because there are some things where, I want them to work, so we add a little more things to try and make them work. For the most part, I am very big on the aggro control combo spectrum. I'm just trying to throw in decks that work there. But once we get a pet card in, or a card where people immediately expect to see some sort of, synergy package with it, I do feel a bit like I need to put those in. For example, we have Survival of the Fittest in this cube, which on rate, it's a little overpowered. It's very cheap and it tutors through a lot of things really quickly. But when a person sees Basking Root Wall and Arrogant Worm, they really want to have efficient things to do the thing. And then that allows me to start bridging into cards like Vengevine and other supports that you don't necessarily need survival for, but it sure does help to have it.
Right, and like those have some of those thematic hooks that you start connecting, like, oh, hey, this works in this way that it wasn't marked as originally, perhaps.
Yeah, and it gives players, I bring up often the players that didn't get to originally experience these cards, it gives them very obvious segues for finding the things that you want to do in this era. But also a lot of times you will find that you don't have to use them as their prescribed, definition. Like, we have Pestermite and Kiki-Jiki in this cube, and once players know that's there, they know that they're pretty decent cards to pick up. But also, if you just get a Pestermite as a flash attacker for your Ninjas deck, that's pretty sweet too.
With Pestermite, I kind of wish that could exist in more environments without the expectation that Kiki-Jiki would be there. I think it does so many cool things, specifically because it hits any permanent.
Right, yeah. Teaching people the first time to tap your opponent's lands so that you can just try to resolve a spell the next turn, that has been pretty cool. And those aha moments are really fun as well, because those are the things I learned when I was starting to play Magic, and now I get to share that with other people who might have never seen that.
Yeah, and in the spirit of thinking about Kiki-Jiki and Pestermite specifically, like, how do you engage with combo in this space?
We try not to shy away from it, especially because I have a problem of adding in cards and then not realizing the combos until someone else does them.
Surprise! Yeah.
Yeah. I had a player, I really like the card Archangel of Thune, just for being a flying lifelinker that can buff your team.
Absolutely. It's a hammer.
Yeah, and then I had a player on the first time we ever drafted this. They put Archangel of Thune and Nantuko Husk and Kitchen Finks together, and they said, "You're playing Black Red Zombies, Nate, but now I have infinite life, so you've lost the game." And you know what? Good job. You broke my cube for me.
Turns out they were right.
Right.
Well, but I note that Archangel of Thune is still here.
Yeah. Especially if someone else shows it to me and beats me with it, I try to keep it in there, because it's like, you showed me this cool thing, and now I get to tell this story of you showing me this cool thing.
This is probably a nice moment to note that Cube Cobra in recent updates has a feature now where you can check your combos just to see what you have.
Oh, I did not even know that on the latest update. That is good to know. I'll have to check that one out.
Yeah, under the analysis tab, which is now on the sidebar, there's a whole page for combos, and it tells you which cards go together to make combos, and if you go to the site that provides that data, it will tell you which cards you're off of. Like, hey, if you add this, you will have. So it's a helpful tool for cube designers.
Yeah, I'm scrolling through it now and realizing there's so many I did not even expect to see.
Well, you can close the tab now if you want. Like, I don't want to give away all the tricks. I think sometimes there's something fun about players discovering it naturally, right?
Absolutely, yeah. I think the biggest thing for me is seeing that a lot of these are like 3 cards, and in my mind, I'm like, I knew these were combo cards, but I was building like 5-card board states to get them to work. So,
we don't need the internet to tell us all the shortcuts. Just put them on the table. We'll find it.
Yeah, right. Even though I had the internet when I first started playing Magic, didn't use it that much. We found out things through word of mouth, through other players.
Yeah, like you've described that, and that scratches a part of my memory where you would go to F&M, or you would go to these events and you would see things you had never seen before. It's like, wow, I've never seen this deck put together this way, or I've never seen these cards in concert together. So, capturing that feeling is really meaningful, like, to me, and I can imagine it is for your players as well.
Yeah, we've had a lot of those moments. And I think the biggest thing for me with these nostalgia cubes is we keep bringing up stories and looking back and bringing up anecdotes, and those connections are so important to me. And any time that someone can learn something new, I think that's also a really fun part of Magic, is just that it gives you a new place to learn new things. It's my favorite part. It's so great.
Thinking about story and thinking about connection with other people, like, I don't think anybody's going to argue that that's not an important part of it. Like, why is that important to you in this pursuit?
I think as my relationship with Magic grows, I am starting to lose some of the parts that I really enjoyed early on. I alluded to this earlier about, like, part of my very early times of Magic was playing competitively, and I just really don't have that competitive drive anymore. I am very content to draft and then go 0-3 and get beat up the entire night. So Like those connections and the people I'm with, it becomes so much more important when the other parts of the game start to fade away. Also, I'm much more into the collection part of the game, which I know for a lot of people, Magic isn't really about collection and collectible. It's just about getting the game pieces. But when collection becomes more important as well, I found the same things of I really like knowing who I got the card from. And I really like knowing the story behind cards, like who had it, why did you get this card, did you trade it from someone, does it have, a story and a life behind it. So yeah, just as I age with the game and things change, I find myself just looking for more of those connection pieces.
It sounds like you could almost use a is it Where's George that they put on the dollar bills so you can track where it's been. You kind of want that card for card in the cube.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I really wish that there was a little thing I could scan on my cards to see who has owned them over the past X amount of years, especially with these kind of cards where they could be 35 years old. That would be so wicked.
Right. Well, TM, just in case anybody tries to, to steal that idea. We got it first. Do you find that your players, it's weird to say go along with that or buy into that? Like, do you find that people are ready to jump into that kind of storytelling collaborative experience? Or is it like, we're just here to play a game and move on?
No, I'm very vocal about why I play Cube and especially why I built this cube. And I think my passion shows through, so then people kind of latch onto that and kind of want to join in with it as well. Despite the fact that we play with a lot of, old pro players and PPTQ grinders from years past, I encourage table talk. It's not everyone's favorite, but I love to hear when people pipe up about like, oh my God, I love this card. And encouraging that, I think they've really bought into that. People ask me all the time, like where I got certain things. I think also I've gotten into the habit of, as I'm trying to get more old cards, I'm very willing to trade away some of my newer cards. So it's nice for someone to open up a pack and my friend Peter will be like, oh yeah, I traded Nate these 3 cards in this pack. Which card should I take that used to be mine? And those are really fun. Those are fun moments.
Get to take this back.
Yeah.
Well, and it sounds like it's not like you don't engage with new Magic at all, right? Like this is just the particular vehicle that's captured your interest the most.
Yeah. I think if you ever see me in a Discord, you will see me talking about my disdain for Universe Beyond. And yet, I own quite a lot of the Lord of the Rings cards, and I was a really big fan of Avatar: The Last Airbender as a kid, so I have quite a few of those cards that I have no plans on playing with them. I just like that I can put them on a bookshelf and take a look at them. So yeah, I definitely still engage with the game. It's just not my main way of doing things with Magic anymore, is the present, just kind of as I see fit.
Well, I mean, one of the biggest strengths of Cube, right? You get to pick the things that are most exciting to you, and you don't have to jump on every new thing that comes out.
Right. Yeah, even though I am kind of fixated on this look to the past with Glory Tag Tournament, like you said with Cube, there's nothing stopping me from, if I really like Ninja Turtles for some reason, I can go and build a Ninja Turtles cube and completely shift my focus.
Sure. Or, like you described, if you want to lean into the collection side, you can just pick all of your favorite arts and put them in a binder, and you can enjoy it that way too.
Yep.
There was one thing I wanted to ask about that you did in the Glory days. The way you described it is that you have a semi-regular tournament where the winners get to pick cards to add to the cube. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so for Glory days, we would set up at least once a month would be considered like the quote-unquote cube day. Like, this is the day for people to sweat and make sure they could try and win based off of the fact that whoever 3-0'd the cube would get to pick a card for me to add in. For Glory days specifically, I would pretty much do whatever people wanted me to add, even if it was kind of busted and shouldn't have been in the cube. I'd at least let it hang for a few weeks. When we got to Glory Tag Tournament, it was similar to the uncuttable tags and those kind of things. I kind of backed away from it because I didn't want people getting too overzealous. I didn't want someone coming up and being like, I 3-0'd and now we're going to play Armageddon next week. While some people are playing, 2-mana 1/1s. But I've really found that players remember that from years past, and I get asked about it all the time. The first time someone 3-0'd, they're like, I'm thinking of what I'm going to add into the cube, Nate. And I had to be like, well, that wasn't the plan for this, but I am working towards that. I still got like a backlog of things that people want to add in. But again, the community part's so important to me that, if my community wants to do that and wants to bring that along to my new cube, I'm going to go ahead and go with it.
So you're saying if the right sequence of people win, you're going to have a powered cube?
Yeah, unfortunately. There are 2 people that I think I have 3 booster tutors that are supposed to go in here at some point. So we'll see if that ends up happening.
That's outstanding.
I really didn't expect for this cube to be as popular as it is with my group. So I didn't do a lot of like pre-planning with that kind of stuff. But now that we're a few months in and almost 10 drafts in, I'm going to start considering stuff like that. We're going to start getting things set up, and we sometimes like to do some like prize pools with packs and stuff. We might get back to that. Because yeah, I really didn't expect for, my group to resurge as much as it has.
So as you think about the Glory Tag Tournament XIV, are there things that you've learned with this project that you would want to apply to future projects going forward?
The biggest one is not getting attached to certain things, especially as specifically cube designers. We can really get set in this, like, I put these cards in for this intention. And I definitely did that with Glory Days, hence the uncuttable. I was trying to keep those in as cards that the cube would always morph around those cards because I wanted them to stay in. And with this one just being so much more uncertain to not really knowing how a nostalgia cube would go, I think I learned that very quickly of, like, if something's just not fun, like, it's not worth trying to change other things to make it work. It's just better to let that go. And I think also being very willing to like listen to your group, because they might not know everything that we on the internet know about cube design, but they know what they're doing. They know what they're seeing right in front of them.
And they know what they like. And that's your group. That's who you're going to be playing with.
Right. Yeah. It does not matter what I like if I can't get, 6 or 8 people to draft with me.
Well, I suppose it does matter. It becomes like the one-time trick. But yeah, your point stands for sure. It probably goes hand in hand with what you just described, but what advice would you want to share with other designers as they're thinking through their own projects?
First, I would say use the past to influence your cube, obviously, if you're doing something with nostalgia, but don't let the past create the cube for you. We talked about combos earlier and cards that go together. I think it's really easy to say these 2 cards got played together back in the day, so I have to include both. One that I think about that my players bring up is like Kessig Wolfrun, very fun red-green land, but everyone wants to play Inkmoth Nexus with it. Everyone wants to use it to poison kill. And yeah, those 2 cards saw a lot of play together when they were in standard, and but that doesn't mean I'm going to include them here. If we don't find that fun, I'm not going to include things or build things for nostalgia's sake. I'm still going to make sure I'm using my eyes now to build from the past, not letting the past build my cube now.
I love it. That's really good.
Another thing that I've learned is not looking for parallels of things we have now in the past. I have another example for this one of Goblin Assault. It is...
this is the proto Rabblemaster, right?
Right, and that's exactly the thing. I'm looking at red 3s from this era, and they're kind of mopey. And so, I think about like, what are the classics now? And it's like, we have an abundance of Rabblemaster effects. And so I went to Scryfall and was looking for something similar, and I found Goblin Assault, and I was like, there we go. That's going to be my Rabblemaster in this cube. And it's just not good. People just don't put it in their decks. So yeah, we're looking to the past. We're trying to play with cards from the past. Don't try and bring in, effects from the future.
Yeah, there are a couple extra lines of text on Goblin Rabblemaster compared to Goblin Assault to make it very different.
Yeah, it turns out, before combat versus during your upkeep, a whole turn cycle to get your token makes a big difference.
Absolutely. Well, Nate, as we trend toward wrapping up here, I do get to ask you one of my favorite questions, which, looking at your cube, I'm curious what your answer is going to be here. If you could have any card printed as a promo, what card would it be, and who would you have do the illustration?
Oh, this one is so hard because Specifically, I am thinking in, the realm of this cube, and there's so many great old arts, and so it's hard to like think about what I would want to replace one. Um,
If I could bottle that angst, I could live off of it. I love
yeah,
I love how tough that is.
yeah. I think one of my favorite cards in this cube is Yosei the Morning Star.
Yeah.
I try and jam it wherever I can, and it has, a new reprinting with a new art, but it didn't get any of the special art treatment. Like the Red Dragon from that cycle has a promo, and I really wish Yosei had something really cool like that. My favorite artist in the game is Rebecca Guay, and I can imagine she would do some pretty trippy watercolor stuff with Yosei, and I'd love to see that.
Absolutely. Just an all-timer nowadays. I mean, just classics all the way back and then every step along the way.
Yeah, yeah. You can look at any of her. You can look at new cards and see Rebecca Guay, and that's awesome.
That's a great choice. The Kamigawa dragons, it kind of overshadowed by, you said Ryusei is the red one and the black one that it was like commander playable, but the others are cool too.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm playing like Kaiga in this cube, and that one's a
Yes.
banger.
The Tide Star, that's so good. Well, Nate, this has been so delightful. I love looking back here with you. This catches me in an era that like I had just started playing toward the end of your cutoff. So all of these things that you're celebrating are like right in the heart of stuff that I was, starry-eyed looking back on as a new player. So this has been really fun to go through together. I really appreciate you doing this with me.
Of course. Yeah, it's been great to be here, and all the things you're saying, that's kind of my goal with this cube. So warms my heart to hear. Very much appreciate that.
Well, yeah, chalk up another success. If folks want to learn more about what you're doing here, want to follow up on any of your other projects, or just want to get in touch, where should we point them?
Well, you brought on my love of frogs at the beginning, and if people ever forget, you can search the internet for Nate Likes Frogs, because I do very much like frogs. So yeah, Nate Likes Frogs on Blue Sky, on Discord, or on Cube Cobra. You can find all of my stuff there, and I would love to hear some more folks talk about some nostalgia cubes and cards from their past that they love.
Outstanding. Well, very good. Nate, again, thank you so much. Looking forward to looking back again more in the future, and hopefully we'll have some chance to sling cardboard before too long.
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you.